They teach you from a very young age that the world is a fair and balanced place. They drill it into your head in school, in movies, and in books. They tell you that if you work hard, tell the truth, and follow the law, you will be rewarded. And more importantly, they promise you that if someone does something cruel or illegal, karma will eventually balance the scales. I am here today to look you dead in the eye and tell you that karma is a bedtime story. It is a fairy tale invented by the powerful to keep the powerless quiet and obedient. My name is Arthur. I am 35 years old, and I had absolutely nothing left. Not my company, not my family, not my pride. 5 years ago, I was on top of the world. I was a senior embedded systems engineer, and I had spent the last 6 years of my life working out of a damp, freezing garage in my spare time. I wasn't building a toy. I had designed and patented a revolutionary smart water purification valve, but it wasn't just a mechanical piece of plastic. It was a highly advanced AI-assisted hardware module. The real magic was in the software. I had written a hyper-efficient custom operating framework entirely in C++. Because the microcontrollers inside the valve had very limited memory, I couldn't use bulky modern languages. I had to write raw, deeply optimized C++ code, utilizing manual memory management and direct pointer manipulation so the sensors could analyze water toxicity in real time with zero latency. It could instantly detect heavy metals like lead or arsenic and physically shut off the water flow in milliseconds. I called the system Aura. I didn't want to be a billionaire. I just wanted to build a comfortable, quiet life for my wife Sarah and our newborn daughter. I was so incredibly naive. I actually thought my patent and my encrypted source code meant something. 7 months after I officially secured the patent, I was approached by a massive global infrastructure conglomerate called Vanguard Solutions. The CEO, a man named Marcus Sterling, flew me out to his glass penthouse office in the city. The room was sterile, freezing cold, and smelled like expensive leather. Sterling wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than my entire car. He didn't offer me a drink, he didn't even smile, he just slid a single piece of paper across his massive mahogany desk. It was an offer to buy the complete rights to my patent, including the full C++ repository, for $50,000. $50,000 for a hardware and software integration that was mathematically proven to save their manufacturing division hundreds of millions of dollars over the next decade. I politely laughed, thinking it was a negotiation tactic. I declined the offer, explaining that the C++ architecture alone took me 4,000 hours to write. I told him I planned to license it myself. Marcus Sterling didn't get angry. He didn't yell. He just leaned back in his chair, looked at me with completely dead, emotionless eyes, and said, Arthur, I strongly suggest you take the check, because Vanguard is going to own this valve. The only question is whether you get a small piece of the pie today, or if we just take the entire bakery tomorrow. I thought he was just an arrogant corporate bully trying to intimidate a small-time inventor. I walked out of that building feeling proud of myself. I hired a small local business lawyer, secured a modest business loan, and started setting up a small-scale manufacturing plant. Exactly 8 months later, Vanguard Solutions held a massive press conference. They announced their brand new flagship Echo Pure Water Filtration System. I watched the live stream on my laptop. As their lead engineer broke down the technical specifications on a massive screen behind the podium, my blood ran completely cold. They hadn't just copied the mechanical shape of my valve. The engineer was boasting about their proprietary low-latency C++ microarchitecture. They even showed a brief snippet of the terminal output on the screen. It was my code. I recognized the exact variable naming conventions. I recognized the specific, highly unusual memory allocation loops I had written at 2 in the morning 3 years ago. They had stolen everything. They didn't even bother to hide it. They just slapped their corporate logo on my life's work and started selling it globally. I was furious. A righteous burning anger consumed me. I called my lawyer, and we immediately filed a massive federal lawsuit for patent infringement, corporate espionage, and intellectual property theft. I had the original mechanical blueprints. I had the time-stamped patent. I had the complete GitHub commit history showing every single line of C++ I ever wrote. It was an open and shut case. I truly believe the law was a shield that protected the innocent. Huh. But the law isn't a shield. The law isn't a weapon. And it only works for the person who has enough money to swing it the hardest. Marcus Sterling didn't even bother to show up to the first preliminary hearing. Instead, he sent a strike team of 14 ruthless corporate litigators from one of the most expensive law firms on the planet. They didn't stand up and argue that they didn't steal my valve. Instead, they buried me alive in paperwork. They filed motion after motion, hundreds and thousands of pages of dense legal jargon demanding endless and aggressive discovery. They requested my personal emails, my bank records, the physical hardware of every single computer in my house, and the encrypted passwords to my entire digital life. They claimed that my C++ code was built on open source libraries and therefore wasn't fully proprietary, twisting the GNU licensing laws to confuse the judge. My lawyer, who was used to handling small contract disputes, was completely outmatched. He told me it was a standard corporate intimidation tactic, a war of attrition. But within 10 months, my legal bills hit $120,000. I had to take out a massive second mortgage on my house just to keep the lawsuit alive. Then Vanguard dropped the guillotine. They countersued me. They claimed that my public statements on LinkedIn and engineering forums about them stealing my technology were defamatory. They sued me personally for $15 million in corporate damages, citing lost potential revenue and brand defamation. Using their infinite resources, they convinced a federal judge to temporarily freeze all of my business assets and personal savings accounts while the defamation case was pending. Suddenly, I couldn't manufacture anything. I couldn't pay my hardware suppliers. I couldn't buy groceries. I couldn't even pay my mortgage. I begged the judge to just look at the code. I stood in the courtroom holding stacks of printed C++ files, pleading with him to just look at the timestamps. The judge slammed his gavel, threatened me with contempt of court, and told me to sit down, stating that the court would address the technical evidence only after the procedural motions were cleared. Those procedural motions took 3 years. 3 years of pure psychological and financial torture. Marcus Sterling's legal team drained by finances drop by agonizing drop. When I finally ran out of money to pay my lawyer, he sent me a deeply apologetic email and formally dropped me as a client. I tried to represent myself. I spent my nights reading massive legal textbooks, typing up desperate, poorly formatted motions on a cracked 10-year-old laptop while my family slept. The stress destroyed my home. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. And honestly, I don't blame her. The endless debt, the terrifying collection calls at all hours, the sight of me pacing the living room at 3 a.m., talking to myself about legal statutes and patent law. I became a ghost. I stopped being a husband, and I stopped being a father. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, I came home from a humiliating part-time shift at a local warehouse. The house was dead silent. Sarah's bags were gone. The baby's room was empty. She left a note on the kitchen counter. She took our daughter and moved back in with her parents across the country. She wrote that I was obsessed, that I was chasing a phantom while our actual, real life burned to the ground. She was right. But I couldn't stop. I had the truth on my side. I had to prove it. 2 months later, the final, fatal blow landed. Because I was representing myself and didn't fully understand federal civil procedure, I missed a crucial 30-day filing window to respond to one of Vanguard's highly obscure summary judgment motions. The judge dismissed my entire patent infringement lawsuit with prejudice. That meant it was permanently dead. I could never, ever sue them for the stolen valve again. On top of that, because I couldn't afford to defend myself in their defamation countersuit, the judge issued a default judgment in favor of Vanguard Solutions. I was officially ordered by the federal government to pay Vanguard Solutions $800,000 in legal fees and punitive damages. I lost the house to foreclosure. I had to declare total, catastrophic bankruptcy. My credit score was annihilated. My engineering career was over because no tech company wants to hire a guy with a multi-million-dollar corporate defamation judgment on his public record. Yesterday, I was sitting in the dingy, flickering break room of the big box retail store where I now work stocking shelves for minimum wage. I was eating a cold, cheap sandwich out of a plastic bag. I looked up at the small TV mounted on the wall. The financial news network was on. They were doing a live segment on Marcus Sterling. Vanguard Solutions had just reported record-breaking quarterly profits, largely driven by their revolutionary proprietary eco-pure water filtration technology. The news anchor was practically glowing, praising Sterling as a visionary, a tech genius, and a pioneer of global green technology. Sterling was smiling warmly at the camera. He was wearing another bespoke suit. He talked smoothly about how his company was dedicated to making the world a better, cleaner place for the next generation. Long pause. He won. He stole my life's work. He stole my brilliant C++ architecture. He destroyed my marriage. He took away my daughter. He bankrupted me. And the entire world is currently clapping for him. He isn't going to jail. He isn't going to lose a single penny. He's going to sleep in a $50 million mansion tonight, completely at peace, while I have to figure out how to afford a bus pass for next week. So please, the next time some motivational speaker or movie tells you that the truth always comes out, or that karma always catches up with bad people, tell them to wake up. The world doesn't belong to the good, or the honest, or the hardworking. The world belongs to the ruthless. What about you guys? Have you ever watched a real-life villain actually win? Or are you still blindly waiting for the universe to be fair? Drop a comment below. And if you want more brutal reality checks, hit that subscribe button.